This summer, the Olympic Games will be held in London, England, and so we've traveled here to Colorado Springs and the U.S. Olympic Training Center to learn more about Olympic-style shooting. And with me is Olympic qualification record holder Keith Sanderson, and he's going to describe for us the pistol events at the Olympics. Hi, Keith. How you doing?
Hi, good to be here. Well, first we'll start out with 10-meter air pistol, since that's the first event in the Olympics. 10-meter air pistols basically shoots a .177 caliber pellet. Uses compressed air, although they have some that are pump or CO2, but compressed air is by far the most popular now because it's more consistent. They aren't designed to be very powerful. It's designed, just like the air rifles, to be as accurate as they possibly can be. There's certain rules. The trigger has to weigh 500 grams. It has to fit in a certain size and shape box. But other than that, there's a lot of leniency in what you can do with it and what you can do with the grips. The grips can't wrap around your hand at all, but as you can see, the grips are custom made, or they can be made to fit your hand almost perfectly. And you shoot it at 10 meters, and the target you shoot on is this. This is a paper target, but like in the Olympics or a World Cup, you shoot on electronics. So you don't see any score rings, just a black circle, and a computer measures where the pellet actually goes, or the bullet. So, and you have a little computer monitor, which is kind of cool. It tells you, hey, I just shot 10.9, or which is a dead center shot, or, you know, something less than that.
And that's called the 10 ring, correct?
Right. The center two circles are the 10 ring. It's approximately 1 centimeter in diameter.
And that's about the size of the pellet that you're actually shooting?
The inner 10 ring is the exact size of the pellet. The outer 10 ring, which is, if you barely touches the inside of the edge of that inner 10 ring, it's like a 10.5.
Okay.
Now in electronics, you don't need that. And you only use decimals in the final. So the final, they use that, not just for a tiebreaker, but you shoot 10 shots in the final, and for air pistol and in free pistol, just like in the rifle events. And each shot's worth up to a maximum of 10.9 points. So a dead center shot is a 10.9, not just a 10, not just a plain 10. So the highest possible score out of 10 shots is 109, which is obviously a lot better than 100. Nobody's ever shot 109 before in any event, but it'd be pretty good.
What is a typical winning score?
World-class score in the final for air pistols, probably 102, 103 range. Was world class. You're not going to move down in the final. You're probably going to move up. In free pistol, 99, 100. 100's a really good score for a free pistol final, but we'll talk about more of that in a second.
So like any other sport in the Olympics, it seems this is a sport of near perfection.
Right. I had there was a guy on the team once that said that, he was a Russian guy, and he said, air pistol, it's like you are a general, and the pistol is a private, and you tell it what to do. Free pistol, you are a general, and it is a general, and you negotiate. Free pistol is a little bit more difficult. But it's pretty easy to shoot a 10. It's also pretty easy to shoot a 9, so you can't shoot a whole lot of 9s in air pistol.
Okay, thanks.
But free pistol, on the other hand, it's what I like about it most is it's called free pistol because there's very little rules. It's free. Doesn't have to fit in a box. The trigger can be as light or as heavy as you want it. For example, this trigger weighs 10 grams. So as you saw before, you can try it again.
Yes,
see if you can just touch it without it.
Take much.
And you can't touch
Just
it without it.
Feather could
Now, once you've trained with it, you get to the point where you can touch it. You can rub it if you wanted to, and it won't go off. You have a lot of control over it, but it is a very light trigger. So that requires an extra level of safety whenever you shoot free pistol. The only rules with free pistol is you have to have a poster notch front and rear sight. It has to be a pistol, so they put it in your hand like this. The grip can wrap around your hand, obviously, so it fits you literally like a glove. And they make you go like this to make sure it doesn't touch your wrist bone. And the trigger, they had to add this rule in later on in the late 70s, I think. The trigger has to be actuated by pressure from a finger on the firing hand. The Russians won set the world record at one point in time, pressing a button with their left hand to make it shoot, because it wasn't in the rules. It's free. So they had to add that in the rules. Then they broke the world record again.
This particular gun certainly does not look like a modern gun, certainly not as high-tech as these.
No. This is a TAS 35. It is a Russian free pistol. It's actually a copy of a Swiss free pistol that Hugh Benner won the Olympic gold medal. It was an American, won an Olympic gold medal in free pistol in the 1952 Olympic Games, I think. It was a Swiss-made pistol. This is the Russians copied it. It's kind of like the AK-47, I suppose, of free pistols, but still very, very competitive. It doesn't look very refined, but every place it has to be refined is very refined. Like the trigger and the sights are very, very precise, and it's very, very accurate, of course.
Okay. Now moving on.
Well, before we get there, for a free pistol, this is your target. Now, the air pistol target was at 10 meters. The free pistol, you shoot at 50 meters. Both of them are 60 shots. With air pistol, it's 1 hour and 45 minutes. With free pistol, it's 2 hours for 60 shots. So this center 2 circles, again, is your 10 ring, but at 50 meters. So a little bit more than half of a football field.
About 150 feet, right?
A little bit more than that, yeah.
Yeah.
Because meters are a little bit bigger than yards. And the world record with free pistols is a 581 out of 600. So it's the lowest world record of any of the shooting sports, which is a good indicator that it's pretty difficult. It was set in 1980 Olympics by a Russian who now lives in LA, actually. So very, very difficult, very precise event. It's the king of pistol events, probably, if you had to pick one. But the best pistol event.
And it's your event.
Well, I've shot all 3 of these, but my favorite event is rapid fire pistol. And this is the same style of pistol as women's sport. It's the same as you shoot in women's sport pistol or in standard pistol. A couple more rules on it. It has to fit inside of a certain size box. This part of the grips, all the different parts of the grips are measured. The trigger has to weigh 1,000 grams, roughly 2.2 pounds. There can't be any compensators or anything like that that dampens recoil in it. There's certain things that they do to you add weight to dampen recoil, but there's no ports or anything like that to use the energy to dampen recoil. One of the neat things about them is most of the competitive ones, at least, this is probably the #1 rapid fire pistol in the world. It's the most common of the elite shooters. Has an electronic trigger.
Explain that to me.
So what's great about the electronic trigger is that it's a little bit safer than a conventional trigger. There's still a hammer and sear on the inside, so it still operates the way a normal pistol would operate. The only difference is when you pull the trigger, and you can't see it because it's on the inside, or I'd show it to you, it goes back to its spring tension and whatnot, and then it goes back and hits a micro switch. And the micro switch goes through this little electronic thing in here, hits a solenoid, which goes up and hits your sear, releasing the hammer, striking the firing pin, making it shoot. The advantages to that are, one, your trigger reset can get very, very short, of the order of 1 millimeter or less. So for the rapid fire event, when you shoot multiple targets really, really fast, that becomes important. And by far my favorite feature of the electronic trigger is the ability to dry fire. You know, I don't have to cock it every time I want to dry fire. It's safer. I put less wear and tear on the gun. I don't have to worry about a dry fire plug or anything like that.
They call it rapid fire, and why do they call it that?
Well, rapid fire, unlike the 2 slow fire events, what you have is there's 5 separate targets. They're spaced at 3/4 of a meter apart.
Here's an example.
Here's the example target. Now again, in competition, you most likely are going to shoot on an electronic target, so you're not going to see any of these scoring rings. But from center to center, they're 3/4 of a meter apart at 25 meters from your firing point. You start out aiming at the target, usually, and they'll say attention, and the lights there'll be a light on the top that will turn red. 3, 2, 1, start. At 1, your arm has to be at a 45-degree angle and motionless. So you're kind of aiming down at the ground almost. About 3 seconds after the command start, the lights would go from red to green. And then you lift the pistol. It's called a lift. You come up and you shoot your first shot on target 1, and then you shoot 1 shot in each of the 5 targets. In qualification, you'll do that in a series of 8 seconds twice, a series of 6 seconds twice, and then a series of 4 seconds twice, for a total of a 300-point aggregate. Obviously, a 300 would be pretty good.
Right.
Anything above 290 is probably world class, because that puts you in the 580 range. Usually what will happen in a World Cup or in the Olympic Games is you'll shoot what's called a half course, which is what I just described. On one day, you sleep on it, think of what you did, and the next day you come back and you shoot your second half. They take both of those 2 scores together, and that aggregate, which is a 600-point aggregate, is your qualification score. And that qualification score, what they do is they take the top 6 in the other pistol disciplines and other rifle disciplines. It's the top 8 will go to the final. In rapid fire, it's just the top 6. The top 6 will go to the final round, which as of last year has changed completely from what it used to be. And it's a lot more competitive now. It's hit or miss targets. Now it's a 9.7 or above is a hit. It's all in 4 seconds. You shoot four strings one at a time, so you get more camera time. After 4 strings, the low shooter is 6th place. Then you shoot one more string, and the next lowest, 5th place. One more string, all the way up till you get to the top 2. If there's ever a tie, immediate shoot off. And another thing is your scores are zeroed out in rapid fire only when you get to the final. You don't carry your qualification score with you. So it's once you get there, it's really anyone's game.
Very challenging.
Very challenging. And it is all in 4 seconds. And to give you an idea, 5 separate targets in 4 seconds. With me, I'm a little bit slow internationally. My first shot takes about 1.9 seconds. So the time to shoot, recoil, move to the next target, and shoot again is about 0.53 to 0.54 seconds when I'm shooting well.
Now, these guns don't resemble the average target shooter's pistol, but you have some tips that can be transferred to the average target shooter and help to make them better shooters.
I do.
Right? Yeah.
I do. Now, even these guns look completely different from one, like a free pistol and rapid fire pistol are completely different. But the one thing that's probably helped me out more than anything that I should have done more as a new shooter, and I definitely do now as an elite shooter, is dry fire. It's free. It doesn't really do any damage to the gun. The only point of caution I would have is for 22s, when you dry fire them, some of them is potential to damage the firing pin or the chamber area. So all you do is you take a dry fire plug in the chamber, so that keeps the bolt of the slide a little bit off of the chamber.
Right.
If the pistol didn't come with a dry fire plug, then, or if you're like me, you just lose it, yeah, I take an earplug. I'll stick an earplug there, because I always have earplugs around.
Suggestion, yeah.
And then, again, the advantage to an electronic trigger is I can dry fire it all day long until I run out of batteries. But dry fire, and take your dry fire very, very seriously. And that's how you improve every part. Every single part of your technique can be improved with dry fire.
I understand that you dry fire way more than you live fire. And can you give us put that into perspective at all?
The example that I use a lot is after the 2008 Olympic Games and World Cup Korea and World Cup China of 2009 was about 7 months. During that 7 months, I shot less than 500 rounds. Now, obviously, I get free ammo, or almost free ammo, as much as I can shoot. I can get free guns if I asked for them. I was working on a range full time, so I had a range where I could shoot, but I chose not to. I shot, again, less than 500 rounds in those 7 months. After World Cup Beijing, which is at the end of both of those 2 World Cups, I was ranked #1 in the world. And the reason why is because I dry fired probably well over 100,000 rounds. And I can measure that because the pistol takes batteries. And they say the batteries last for about 50,000 rounds. And I changed the batteries 4 or 5 times. So I'm assuming they didn't quite last 50,000 rounds, but it was at least 100,000 dry fire shots, at least. So, and I absolutely attribute my success to dry fire.
And that's obviously something that the average shooter can do.
Yeah, everyone can do it. It's not fun. It's not sexy. It's but it's how you get better. It's working on the pure fundamentals without the interruption of recoil, without any of these distractions. It's just pure fundamentals. Just you in the pistol.
Well, thank you, Keith. Thanks for that overview and for the tips, and we'd like to wish you the best of luck at the London Olympic Games. And if you're going shooting, or if you need a place to shoot, check out our website, wheretoshoot.org, and every time you go to the shooting range, remember, firearm safety depends on you.